Here now to discuss, after a very busy week, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Karoline, love having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, we're 2 weeks into this conflict with Iran, and it has clearly been a huge success for our military. The regime in Iran is gutted, but you have people at home here who are worried, especially after an ISIS-linked subject targeted an ROTC class at Old Dominion University and after the ISIS-inspired bombing attempt in New York. So how is the administration addressing these type of threats, especially with DHS shut down right now?
Yes, well, thanks for the question, Laura, and it is an important one. And I can assure your audience and the American public that securing the homeland and protecting the American people is President Trump's utmost responsibility and priority. And it's something he's constantly monitoring, and he's always on top of it, as well as his national security team and our intelligence agencies under this president have really increased the coordination and cooperation between the federal government and local law enforcement across the country. We see this level of cooperation not just at the southern border, but also with intelligence sharing. The president has launched these task forces across the country, again, to ensure that the federal and local law enforcement agencies are working together. And it's why it's more imperative than ever that Democrats on Capitol Hill stop playing partisan games with our nation's homeland security and fund the Department of Homeland Security, which really serves as the backbone for that intelligence sharing to protect the homeland. So rest assured, the Trump administration is on it. Unfortunately, we have seen these lone wolf attacks, crazy, sick, deranged, mentally ill people across our country who aspire to bring violence and do harm against their fellow Americans. These are threats that the administration takes seriously. They are thwarting 24/7 around the clock. Often they don't make the news. We have the best law enforcement in the world, and they're working around the clock under this president to secure our nation's homeland.
Yeah, it's a great point, Karoline, that oftentimes we don't hear about the things that were thwarted, the attempts to injure people, harm Americans, that didn't come to fruition, thank goodness, because of our great law enforcement here in America. Right. I also want to talk about the attack at a synagogue in Michigan. Local officials, Karoline, said that the suspect's family members may have been killed by an IDF strike in Lebanon, inferring that this may have been some sort of a retaliation. What is your reaction, though, overall to another incident of anti-Israel, anti-Semitic violence?
Well, this was most certainly, as the FBI has declared, a targeted hate crime against the Jewish community. It's completely unacceptable. The president and the entire administration condemn this type of violence, this anti-Semitic hate towards Jewish Americans wholeheartedly. And just to give your audience an understanding of how on top of all of these situations President Trump is, he was immediately briefed as this news broke. And I was with him throughout much of the afternoon, where he was incessantly asking for updates from the Situation Room to be fully on top of the situation in Michigan and to ensure that the FBI and federal authorities were doing all that they can to respond. So again, this is a president who is always monitoring what's happening across our country and ensuring that the proper authorities are taking action to address these situations. The FBI will continue to investigate, and we'll learn more about the perpetrator in the coming days, who is now deceased. And again, this will hopefully be a learning lesson for federal and local law enforcement to continue to work together to identify future potential threats that may be similar to this one moving forward.
Yeah, now just to get to Iran, the new supreme leader there supposedly told their Gulf neighbors that U.S. military bases needed to be removed from their countries. And another surviving senior leader addressed President Trump on X, writing, "Watch out for yourself, lest you be eliminated." So it's pretty clear this regime is trying, Karoline, to reestablish itself. But we also have people here in our own country who seem to be actively rooting against the success of this mission. I think it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, well, first of all, the Iranian regime, or what's left of it, and these radical terrorists are speaking a lot of empty words, but I think their weakened actions speak for themselves and underscore how successful this operation has been just 2 weeks in. We have totally annihilated the Iranian regime's navy. We've wiped out nearly almost all of their ballistic missile threat. In fact, ballistic missile attacks from Iran right now are down 90%. Their drone capabilities are down 95%. We have sunk more than 65 of their naval ships. We've hit more than 6,000 targets across the country, and it's a very big country. And we're going to continue this mission until all of the objectives that President Trump and the Secretary of War have laid out are fully accomplished. And we are totally eradicating this threat of Iran building a nuclear bomb to threaten the world and to attack U.S. troops and personnel in the region with their ballistic missile arsenal. This is a threat that presidents for a very long time have spoken about. President Trump is the first president to actually have the courage to do something about it. And we've been working 24/7 here at the White House to make sure the American people understand how much of a tremendous success this operation has been over the past 2 weeks. And it is abhorrent, some of the stories that are coming from the mainstream media. And these reporters run these anonymous sources as gospel truth without checking with the people who are actually in the room. And I'm speaking about a CNN story alleging that the administration was ill prepared for the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. That is unequivocally false. Let me be clear. The Pentagon has been accounting for this in their planning of this operation since the very beginning, and the administration is taking tangible steps to address it. CNN issued a correction on that story after I called them and spent nearly an hour on the phone rebutting it. ABC News using unverified, non-credible tips from anonymous tipsters to scare people in California that Iran was allegedly plotting to attack the coast of California with drones, again, based on unverified intelligence. They left that word unverified out of their story purposely, and we forced them to issue a correction. So your audience needs to be mindful of what they are reading. And if you picked up the New York Times, you'd think that Iran is crushing the United States. It is quite the opposite.
Before we let you go, I do want to talk about energy. Americans are obviously seeing a temporary increase in gas prices as Iran is trying to impede movement there in the Strait of Hormuz. We're now utilizing our strategic petroleum reserve. This is what it is supposed to be used for, right? This is the time whenever a president taps it, not as they're going into an election like we've seen in the past, but what is your message to people out there in the country right now who might be concerned to see this blip and this increase in gas prices?
We understand your concerns. We hear you, and we are taking them into account, and we have a plan to address them. And this is a temporary, short-term disruption in global oil prices that the president is ultimately going to rectify by wiping out the rogue Iranian terrorist regime. And the fact that the terrorists are holding the global oil industry hostage by threatening to shut down the Strait of Hormuz and traffic through the strait just underscores the need for President Trump to launch this operation in the first place. We cannot live in a world where we have radical Islamic terrorists threatening to hold the world's oil market and global economy hostage like this. So the Trump administration in the short term to address the rise in oil prices has rolled out a plethora of solutions to address this issue, providing political risk insurance to oil vessels and tankers moving through the strait. The president and commander-in-chief has said that he's willing to use the U.S. Navy to escort ships if and when necessary, when the military deems appropriate to do so. We've waived some sanctions for sanctioned oil that's already at sea to kind of stabilize the prices. And then, of course, as you mentioned, the release of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which this president takes very seriously and is doing responsibly, unlike the last administration who abused the SPR for political reasons to try to artificially lower gas prices ahead of an election. That was despicable. This president takes it very seriously. We will refill the SPR as soon as this operation is over. But ultimately, your audience must remember, this is for the long-term gain of wiping out the threat of an Iranian terrorist regime from obtaining and using a nuclear bomb against the United States of America and our allies.
Well, Karoline, you guys are doing amazing work there at the White House. We are so appreciative of all you do, and we know that you guys are working overtime. So thanks for taking a little bit of time for us today. We appreciate it.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.